Okay, so last class I have given the different criteria required for invention to be patentable. You got an idea of say novelty, you got the idea of prior art, you got the idea of prior art domains or territory where we have to consider that thing. So, as we have not able to discuss much about the inventive steps, I will continue the discussion of inventive steps and subsequently we go to the next part. Okay, so inventive steps, the things we already got that. Okay, inventive steps, India we call it non-obviousness. What are the thing the components I referred already? Let's repeat that thing, that not obvious, obvious, just like it is obvious that water is fluid. It is obvious that water is fluid. Okay, it is obvious that kerosene is also fluid. So, similarly, it is obvious that if you replace a metal doorknob by say polymer doorknob by metal doorknob, the property will also ultimately alters with reference to that part. Okay. So, not obvious to whom? To the person skilled in the art. So, skill in the art defined in the code, it is not and subsequently act also try to mention that person having average knowledge in that field. So, person having average knowledge in that field means in that art. So, already I referred that thing. So, okay. So, now what are the different tastes? Just like say court has adopted time to time to different, because you understand very difficult to put up an objective criteria to determine the determine the inventive step. You may consider, okay, it is very easy to create a criteria for novelty, because if I got a document which give all the features of the invention, then it will not consider novel with reference to that features that was available prior to the filing of patent application. But how will you consider the that inventive steps or non-obviousness? So, different jurisdiction have created different tests to ultimately judge, give some objectivity with reference to that criteria called inventive steps or non-obviousness. Just like USA they refer as the test called TSM, teaching, suggestion, motivation. So, if say prior art teach something, prior art means prior published document or prior art means prior published document teach us something and suggest us or motivate us to do that modification, and I am claiming that all the modification is my invention, then with reference to that it will not qualify to having the criteria called inventive steps. Okay. So, let us say little bit elaborate that fact, teaching, suggestion, motivation. Okay. Let us say prior art means prior published document is stating that, okay, if you replaced a fluid, means let us say there is an invention is reference to a fluid having less viscosity, and they are also referring that if instead of less viscous fluid, if you go for a high viscous fluid, then this type of property improvement will be there. Okay, let us say consider that the viscosity is reverse of fluidity. So, if you consider that, okay, let us say you want to say a prior art stating that, okay, if you decrease the want to decrease the surface tension of that liquid, that surface tension or viscosity of this liquid, then its flowability will increase. So, a document, let us say a prior literature is suggesting, okay, that that like to increase the flowability of that, okay, just like a flowability, consider a sometime for lubrication purposes or for other purposes. We use some oil or some kinds of thing. So, if prior art document is also suggesting, okay, this liquid can minimize the frictions, and increase the wear resist, prevent the wearing and tears. Okay, then you are telling, okay, I am invented a liquid which is having that characteristics, which will provide better efficiency for a machines. But prior art is already telling you that this, if you apply that oil in a machines, wear and tears of that machines will not be there. So, automatically machines will be will run for longer time. So, the prior art is teaching you to use that oil for that purposes. So, you are telling, okay, why applying an oil in an engine to increase the efficiency. So, you are telling improved oil or improved an oil for improving the efficiency of a machines. But oil or property, everything is available in the prior art. So, they are suggesting, teaching you that, okay, this oil can be used. They are suggesting you this oil can be used. They are motivating you to use that oil for a machine to prevent wear and tear. So, that application of that oil for say increasing the efficiency of the engine will not consider to be a patentable invention. So, it is because prior art is teaching you, suggesting you, and motivating you to use that oil for increasing the life of the machines by preventing wear and tears. Got the thing? Then this is the US approach. Now, come to EP and Indian approach, sometime we call problem solution approach. Okay. Solution approach. So, consider a problem, sometime so let us say consider a problem. Okay. Let us say we are considering that, okay, this just like say in the classroom we are using blackboard, chalk and dusters. The problem with the chalk and dusters is that, okay, it is not say chalk and duster that every time you have to erase whatever you are writing, then problem is that it is not permanently stored and you will forget whatever you have written. If somebody is taking the note, if a teacher erase the thing quickly, then he will also forget whatever teacher has written in the board. So, this is the problem. Now, what can be the solutions for that? Problem is that, okay, people are not able to take the note, teacher is writing it, erasing it, teacher is forgetting what he has written 1 minute before. So, the solutions may be there, maybe we can consider a transient kinds of things, just like a temporary storage, whatever the he is writing, that can be a layered wise. Let us say blackboard can be layered type of blackboard, okay, one page, just like a consider paper kinds of situation, one paper, another paper kinds of situation. Further, you know, that is for internet and other, or just like a virtual medium kinds of situation is there. Okay. So, different types of solutions can be an invention, but the solution if is obvious, just like a doorknob kinds of situation, that solution, okay, doorknob will give, metallic doorknob will provide higher strength, then that solution is obvious that, okay, this will provide the strength. Solution of that lubricant automatically will give the higher prevent wear and tear. So, that is obvious. So, that way that will this problem solution. So, always you have to consider a problem and solution should not be obvious, then it will be considered a patentable invention. You got the thing? Solution is novel, but solution should not be obvious, then it will be considered the qualifying the two criteria, inventive steps and also novelty. Solution is novel. Okay. So, let us like this invention was related to, let us say consider a situation. The invention was related to an old method of making doorknobs. The only difference was that the inventor substituted the clay porcelain knob for a metallic knob. Now, US Supreme Court held that although the invention was technically new, court held that the difference was formal and destitute. formal and institute of ingenuity or an invention. It is the so average persons can also think about that. So, state will that invention does not qualify to be a patentable invention on the grounds of inventive steps. Okay, so that's a this is the intricacies of the inventive steps. So, before destroying the novelty of an invention, all feature of invention should be available in a one single document. For destroying the inventive stuff of somebody's invention, somebody can club the documents, but how many document, what way, that remains situation that will be considered situation to situation, case to case basis. Okay. So, that way the D1 plus D2 to generate D3 as invention. If any other person can also in that field can also club D1 and D2 to generate the D3, then D3 will not qualify to be a patentable invention. But for considering the novelty, only single document will all the features of the invention should be available. For considering the inventive step, you may club different prior art, and the prior art who will club average person if club and generate that invention, then it will not qualify to be the criteria of inventive step. So, these two part you got the things, considering the example of doorknob and considering the example of the lubricant. So, what thing say different things, it is that thing you have to be considered. So, how to consider the novelty, just like say generally the obviousness is determined by looking at the scope and content of the prior art, level of ordinary skill in that art, the differences between the claimed invention and the prior art, objective evidence of non-obviousness such as commercial success, long felt and but unsolved needs. So, this is the defined way that obviousness will be judged. This is the US perspective, and in say some extent Indian perspectives also. So, we have to consider the scope and content of the prior art, level of ordinary skill in that art, then that difference, the difference. So, considering that said non-obviousness will be decided. Okay. So, now you got the idea about the things what are say criteria and inventions should qualify in order to be patentable, means novelty, inventive step, in India we call it non-obviousness, and capacity to be used in industry. So, whether you will able to now generate a patentable invention, I think you yes. So, what approach you will follow? You will you should follow a problem solution approach, means try to find out what problem there in the existing art. Just like say consider just like say if you are thinking about the medical technology field, if you are considering that drug industries, if you are considering that waters and others, there is a problem nowadays that okay that there will be crisis of water in near futures. So, okay, how can you design some system that people can use water judiciously. So, solutions means the problem is that to prevent wasteful utilization of waters. So, so that how you can design a tap or other kinds of systems. So, that people should use the water on the as per their requirement. So, so that the solution you may consider that way. Okay, you can use consider a sensor systems, you consider a different types of element to so that way you can decide that solution. Now, solution if it is others in that field also think about that solution, that will not qualify the criteria of obviousness. So, that will not. So, you have to think about a solution which is not obvious to the person in that field. Okay, you are providing a solution just simply sealing that tap. Anybody can do that, sealing the tap. Anybody can in that field can thought about others say, then that you should think something different from that others, then it will consider having the quality of inventive steps. Okay. So, now These are the criteria of patentability, but now another elements are there, that is considering the public perspective and social perspective. So, government have created a list of invention which are not patentable. Why? Considering that the need of the societies, considering the social economical conditions of that country, they have listed subject matters which are not patentable. So, now we are considering in India, we have a list of subject matters which are not considered patentable invention. So, if you invent in that field, for that reason that will not considered to be given patent, because that is considered not patentable invention. So, what are those list? I will lead one by one and try to explain. Frivolous or contrary to well established natural laws. What is that? So, okay. So, you are thinking about let us say what is the natural laws, let us say okay, just iron is magnetic, okay, and say rubber polymers are non-magnetic. Okay. So, you are stating about something, let us say okay, non-magnetic things attracting a magnetic non-magnetic thing, non-magnetic object is attracting a non-magnetic material. So, magnet attract magnetic material, it is well established natural law. So, you are telling a non-magnetic material is attracting a non-magnetic object. So, it is against the well established natural laws. Okay. You are stating that I have decided created my invention is with reference to a system where electricity is flowing from say low voltage to high voltage. Okay. You are stating I have created a system by virtue of which without intervention of third machines or something, water is flowing from low altitude to high altitude. So, that system is against the well established natural laws. So, that will be, so that may use that will not consider to be patentable. Definitely, you may consider that is not feasible, possible, considering that they are thinking about that are not patentable. So, which is against the say well established natural laws, that is not considered to be patentable, just like say non-magnetic attraction, or current flows from say low voltage to high voltage, water without intervention flowing from low to high altitudes. So, those type of things will be not considered not come within the subject matter of patentable invention. Then contrary to law or morality or injurious to public health, this is the ground have been created, just like say which is injurious to public health, let us say to consider to protect the societies or something like that way, just like say cigarette related invention may be considered against the injurious to the public health, the tobacco related invention may be considered against that public health. So, may be not be qualified to be a patentable invention. So, it is injurious to the public health. Any other radioactive related invention may be not come within the purview of patent, but you may consider people are working on that field that so definitely that is the other part, but when we consider the patent part, I have to consider the public health perspective. So, public health perspective is something is injurious to the public health, that will not qualify to be patentable. Scientific principles or formulation of abstract theory. So, if something is scientific principle you are thinking about, just like say E is equal to mc square, or some abstract theories you are proposing, because we are considering patent. I already referred earlier that technology means application of science. So, science part is not come within the purview of patent, but application of science will come within the purview of technology in the form of a product and process. So, scientific principle and formulation of abstract theory, they kept it out of the patent, because people can apply that science to generate the product. That product can be a patentable or patentable invention. So, scientific principle they do not put within the purview of patent, or some abstract theory you generated, the theory can generate some product. So, for the reason the abstract theory can come, has not been come within the purview of patent. So, scientific principle of working of some machines, some fluid, some abstract theory you are thinking about for working of some just like say consider people are working on the concept called atom, nucleus, nucleon, neutron, all those principles. So, they are what are the abstract theory they are thinking about, that neutron, positron and others part, that will not come within the purview of patent, because that let them keep in the form of a theory or principle. People can use those principle and theory for other purposes. Okay. So, now that way that will not considered to be patentable. Similarly, mere discovery of new form of a known substance which does not result in the enhancement of known efficacy of that substance, or mere discovery of new property or new use. So, okay, that is also not qualified to be patentable. Just like say consider the mere discovery of new form, just like you have a alpha crystalline form of titania, and another person has come up with a beta crystalline form of titania, and he is telling that okay, alpha crystalline form of titania and beta crystalline form of titania both are giving the same result, then the beta crystalline form of titania will not qualify to be patentable with reference to alpha crystalline form of titania if does not give some sort. So, if alpha crystalline form of titania with beta crystalline form of titania which is invented later is having some efficiency with reference to that beta alpha crystalline form of titania, then maybe, but if it is does not increase the efficacy, means sometime in medical technology we call therapeutic efficacy, sometime efficacy means availability of that things. So, just like wound healing property or something, availability of that drug or something like this way. So, that way if efficacy is not improved, so new form of known substance will not qualify to be patentable. So, allotropes of alpha, beta, titania, sometimes people thinking about the nano form of a material. So, nano form generally having the higher efficacy, considering that it is considered to be patentable, but in nano form compared to the micro form available in the in that material, if nano form does not give efficacy, then it also hit that clause, that mere discovery of new form of known substance without efficacy, then it will not considered to be a patentable invention. So, known efficacy, enhancement of known efficacy, you have to consider that enhancement of known efficacy, new form of known substance which does not result in enhancement of known efficacy. Known efficacy means what way alpha crystalline form is having therapeutic efficacy. If that beta crystalline form is having also same type of therapeutic efficacy, then beta crystalline form will not qualify to be an invention. So, it will be very cautious, because Novartis case, you remember Supreme Court has given the judgment, they also referred the therapeutic efficacy. So, please read the Novartis case in this regard to consider this. So, judgment of Supreme Court with reference to this case, therapeutic known efficacy means therapeutic efficacy. Similarly, mere discovery of new property of new or new use, mere discovery, simply discovery of new property. Okay, just like you found, okay, what are you simply discovered what that property was already there. Okay, just already there, you simply discovered that property. Just like water can be used for any particular, water is fluid. So, automatically water can be used for killing, water can be used to say somehow prevent taking oxygen, because water will block the oxygen if you put in a nose. So somehow you are telling water for killing people. So that is somehow the other that is actually injurious to public health. But if you consider mere discovery of new property you are thinking about, that is also will not consider to be patentable. Similarly, new property or new use, new property or new use, new property or new use of a known substance is not qualified to be patentable. So substance made by admixtures, if you create a substance by mixing, just like salt water, similarly to sand water, you are mixing, and the mixtures does not provide any synergistic effect, because by mixing if you get property which is different from the properties of the two component whichever you are mixing, then it will be qualified to be patentable. But if mixtures also the properties of the two component whatever you are mixing remain intact, then it will not qualify to be patentable. So substance produced by admixing means A plus B. In AB you are creating AB, in AB also all the property of A you are getting, all the properties of B are also getting. So substance produced by mere admixing, then AB will not qualify to be a patentable invention. So it will not qualify to be an will not qualify to be patentable invention. So similarly, in India, method of agriculture or horticulture, considering the social perspective, because India is agriculture based country, method of agriculture means, what do you mean by method of agriculture? So a new way of cultivating, let us say paddy, new way of cultivating jute. So new way of so those kinds of thing you will not qualify to be patentable India. Why? Considering the social perspectives. So similarly, horticulture, new way of horticulture also will not qualify to be patentable. Similarly, method of treatment of human being or animal, because right, just like health is essential things for human being, and health is a medical method of treatment. If it is patentable, it will be costlier. So considering that method of treatment of human being or animals is not patentable, but how can you make this thing patentable? So that method they are not trading system or device. So if you create a diagnostic kits, it can be considered to be a patentable, but diagnostic method or method of treatment, method is not patentable, but device system can be patentable. So if you want to consider something patentable, you consider like in the form of a device kits, then it will be considered, just like a blood testing kits will be patentable. Blood testing method will not be patentable, blood testing kits will be patentable. So similarly, invention related to traditional knowledge is not patentable. If something is available in the traditional knowledge form, just like basmati, haldi, Ayurveda related thing, that is not patentable. Similarly, computer program per se means as such, per se interpretation is as such, is not a patent. Computer program as such means computer program as it is not patentable. If you computer program, if you clubbed along with hardware and improve the efficiency of the performance of the hardware along with new guidelines suggesting that something new in the hardware, if you able to create along with your algorithm or computer program, then it will qualify to be patentable in the form of an embedded systems. Integrated circuit, a mere scheme of rule, art and drawing, it is separate subject matter, is not patentable. Similarly, business method, what do you mean by business method? Of the e-commerce nowadays have been coming up. So e-commerce related invention will not qualify to be patentable. So new way of doing business, okay, how can you attract the client, how can you do advertisement, all sorts of things will be considered in the form of a business method. Just like say you have heard about Amazon one-click patent. So one-click patent means by simply clicking, somebody design an algorithm, by virtue of that you can give an order from n number of e-commerce website. So that placing order based on that algorithm will be considered as a business method, and that will not qualify to be a patentable. So what I discussed about the subject matter which are not patentable in India. Similarly, the subject matters, just like say same thing I have repeating here, just read all those things just like it has been referred in section 3 of Indian Patent Act. I now clearly am spelling all those things here. These are not patentable in India. Similarly, all those things I referred already, and how it can be made patentable I already also explained that thing. So now in respect of USA, they told abstract idea, well established natural law and art is not patentable. In EP, they are telling that following are not patent discoveries, scientific theories, mathematical method, aesthetic creation, scheme, rules, method of performing mental act, playing games, business and program, presentation of information, these are not patentable inventions. So, we discussed now little bit hurriedly what are not patentable in India, what are not patentable in USA, what are not patentable in EP. So, you can make a comparison what are the patentable in India, what are not patentable in USA, what are not patentable in EP. Sometimes people tell anything and everything under the sun made by man is patentable in USA. So, except abstract idea, well established natural laws, art and say something that those are not patentable in USA. Okay. So, we are finishing it here. So, with the discussion of criteria of patentability with reference to inventive steps and also what are not patentable subject matters in India, USA and EP. So, you try to compare those things in respect of India, USA and EP to get an holistic idea of a patentable subject matters and what is the patentable criteria. Thank you.